We're back, aren't we?
Certainly are.
How are we doing?
Real good.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be together again.
Good to be back, yeah. It's good to be back in the same room. Paul's been off travelling the country, so
Busy bee, aren't you?
trying to pin him down for a podcast is near impossible at the
I know
minute.
who'd thought we'd ever be in this scenario where...
What a problem to have.
What a great problem to have, isn't it?
Great problem to have. So we're back on the Index this week, aren't we? And we're doing the investing time, I think it is this session. We found it.
Really good.
Good, this one. I enjoyed this.
Because you were just saying off air, it's quite a right time for you. Educate me.
Yeah, it's quite a really good time because it's planted the seed into my head about some structured training that I do for a member of staff, and it's just helped me. I won't go into it too much until we start talking about it. It's helped me piece together why I was struggling, and I think I'm going to use this piece of training for my next session with this member of staff.
All right, that's a right time. What are you and Paul, what are you taking from it? What are you thinking about it?
I deliver quite a lot of formal training, structured, but in the past, there's been a lot of informal training in my past life. And I think it's just good to talk about investing time, not in ourselves, but also others, and having structure. And like we say, we had a lot of informal training, and talk about that as we go on.
Yeah, so what this session's about is about how we lead others is really important, and also how we spend our time really matters to the people we lead. The big the big idea I think this session is formal, like walking a tightrope. Imagine walking a tightrope, and it's on one side we've got formal and structured time, and the other side we've got some formal and spontaneous. So to give you an idea on that is formal time might be regular one-to-ones, training workshops, meetings, and maybe other structured activities where you're on different structured courses. And it also talks about informal time. So that might be random, sending someone a text message encouraging, might be going for a coffee, drinks after work, dropping by and having a game of FIFA like we do, other bits. But it asks us to look at what are our sort of default patterns in the two. So kicking that off, then what would you say your default pattern is when you're leading people?
So for me, without even thinking about it till I've done this session, I think I'm more natural at the informal. The reason I think that is because I could sit at my desk just chipping away at my own tasks, and I'll get maybe several people come up to me within the hour and ask me a question or for guidance, and I'll point them in the right direction. I'll say, have you tried this? And I'm unconsciously competent at doing that. I just don't think about it. I just tell them and it's done. Now, that's what I feel I'm naturally better at. I feel like the formal structured training is where I have to put in more plan and prep. I have to be consciously competent about that. I have to really
give me some examples around that. Dig into it.
I have a one-to-one with one of the team leaders, and I like to make sure that we're at a structured time once a week at the same time, and I have to make sure that I've got something documented ready to run through. So that's me being more formal and structured. I spend one-to-ones. It's progression training at a dedicated time each week.
Yep.
But I need to make sure that I'm prepared for that meeting. That takes more effort and time for me. Whereas on the flip side, if it's the informal side of it, the informal, funniest ones, I'm naturally better at that because I just fire them off fairly quick.
Cool. Like that. What are your thoughts? Where are you?
I'm probably opposite to Dean. He's more informal, I'm more formal. Because of what I do for a day job, I have to have structure. I have to have modules all prepped. And so we end up, at the end of the day, we have an exam. So everything that I do is formal. Consciously competent when we're teaching, because all day I have to be a set structure, set time that we hit each module. So by the end of the day or the end of the 2 days or whatever, we've got an outcome at the end of that.
Yeah, I get that, like that. And me, I would say I'm more formal, but I never used to be. And would you agree on that? Because you were nodding.
Yeah, I think so. I think even if somebody comes to you, the informal, spontaneous question, or think your natural default response is to come back with something formal, you like structured process documents. I think you are more naturally suited to the formal structure, yeah.
But interestingly, I never used to be.
To work at it.
Yeah, to really work at it. I'm very similar to you.
Yeah.
And that's what I see a lot when we're doing our coaching sessions. And it's interesting for you to give me that feedback back, saying that you think I'm naturally formal, but when I'm not. I have to work so tirelessly hard to do that. But a lot of the reason for that is, I'm dyslexic, so I forget a lot of stuff. So I have to know where to look for it. So I have to have processes and procedures, because if I get that much, I have to be able to go into my Evernote and find a process on how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's one of my little coping mechanisms. But also outside of that, if we're looking at that, we mentioned about the sort of the key points we're trying to remember. It's formal, structured versus informal, spontaneous. But key sort of talking points we want to try and get across to our listeners and also for ourselves is there's a time and there's a place that we need for each time. Each one of them, and there's a time investment involved for both of them. Right? It's a bit like walking that tightrope, like you mentioned, because it's not a science; it's more of an art form between the two, like a balancing act. And obviously, each type of investment serves a different purpose in terms of the different skills you need. Because, for example, informal, you need more relationship skills.
Yep.
I've had it with a member of staff where in our team when he was growing, was really struggling, and I noticed he was really struggling, so I just took him out for a brew. I took him for a walk and I got him out of the office and we went for an informal chat. I wasn't structured. I didn't write it down. We just went for a coffee and I grabbed a burger. And because I knew in that development phase that he was going through, if I'd have been formal in that, he'd have thought he was in trouble, but he had to learn, process what's going through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I understand there is a time and a place for that. And also, we've got to be really intentional on the Giant Pot platform, what it's saying about being as Sherpas, we've got to be intentional about helping people. We'll apply the health by 100% on that. So, any feedback from that? Not understanding, is that how you're taking it, or you got a different connotation of it?
No, informal. I think what I've done in my past employment and sometimes into this employment, informal serves a massive, great purpose, especially if you want to, I've just said, use that an informal chat to make somebody better and you explain the process. Where sometimes if you can take a little bit of time, which is informal and unstructured, and take a bit of time for your member of staff and just give them a little bit of guidance, they will feel appreciated of that. But you've got to watch that. You can't have that too many times. So like we've talked about in past episodes, we've got to challenge up and support as well, haven't we? So there's a ways and means of doing that as well.
How to add to that?
Yeah, tricky one for me is, both these scenarios need investment of your own time.
Which is hard. It's so hard. It is so hard because we're not getting no more of it, are we?
No, exactly that. So the difficult thing for me is trying to find that balance of who gets my time and how they get my time. And that's where this comes into play. So I need to be really focused now on when people are approaching me that actually this needs structured time. Let's plan this. Let's go away and talk about it on a certain day and time. Let's be prepared for it. This isn't an informal chat we can just go away and discuss. For me, it's that side. I need to get better at doing that. I'm used to people coming up to me and asking me questions where sometimes it could be the same question 3 or 4 times a day. Where I just say, actually, this is the 3rd time you've asked me today. Let's go away tomorrow for half an hour. We'll go through it properly. Let's put something together which can stop this coming back to my desk.
Yeah. And I think, interestingly, though, key point, we've missed our structured meeting this week. We're doing it at the end of the week, right? But what was real good, actually, this session was, and I was going to share it with you tomorrow, but I'll share it now, is what we've got to remember is, because I know you're quite comfortable working in that ad hoc mode where you like to be busy multitasking loads of things, don't you?
Yeah.
We call it gear 4, don't we?
Yeah.
That's where you like to be nice and busy and you're in that little space, right? But something we've got when we hold up a mirror to ourselves, and this is what I was taught, was I used to be very informal. And I used to think if someone could watch me do it multiple times, they'd just get it because they'd learn like me. But what I didn't realise was when you give someone formal and structured time, it allows us to communicate that they're really important and they are a priority to us.
Yeah.
By going away and locking ourselves away. And it allows us to really focus on that individual and really share and really collaborate. So it's something we've got to be really mindful, because I never saw that when I was getting taught this, similar to this, because I was my way of learning was I need to watch, I need to write, I need to make my own notes, I needed to physically experience it. Someone sitting with me wasn't naturally what I thrived off.
Yeah.
Although I needed someone now and again to be able to talk to at set points. But when someone started giving me that time back, I felt really important to go meet him and go get that coaching and see the makes sense.
Yeah, they start to appreciate that time that you're giving them as well, don't they?
Yeah,
you know?
Makes sense. And I think linking to what you, Paul, in terms of me and you have always helped each other in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
But from the Man Club, if you think about it back, one of the first things I rolled out was we did something called the Traction. And it was a structured, formal meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did. We called it level 10, yeah.
But the reason I brought that in for, because challenge you have is, I believe, and this is why I'm pushed to be a little bit more formal than informal, is what gets measured gets done.
Yeah. Is
what I believe. And I don't mean that in terms of making sure that we're communicating effectively in someone shadowing us, because if we can't write it down, I'm a big fan of process, aren't I?
Yeah.
Right. But I ain't always been part of the process. What would you say process has brought to you and the business?
You, Janet, we never had that in the past. We've always had, like we mentioned earlier, the informal side, the unstructured side of things. We've had people drive by in the desks just asking the same questions day in, day out. We've never really had structured process until you came in, which helped develop staff. It's automate things, hasn't it? It's transformed the way we work completely.
But I think what we've also got to not miss, and the key part to this is, I made the mistake in previous lines of work where I went too formal and too structured. And because we worked remotely and we was all over the globe, it was very difficult to have that informal, spontaneous time to allow them deeper relationships to be formed. Does that make sense? Because when you have the informal time, you're reducing barriers. And what I mean about that, remember with the session about self-preservation? Yeah. Sometimes we don't want to lower our barriers and go into that social setting because we don't want to get uncomfortable in the areas. That makes sense? I think about I'm just thinking for anyone listening to us, different things we've all done to get that informal time is we've gone out for runs, gone out for walks. Yeah. We have sandwich Fridays, don't we? We get the lunch and we share different things. Even in our own 10-10-10 meeting, we have an unstructured sort of informal bit. What's your business best and your personal best? We ask different questions like that. So there is a way, even when it is structured, it can be informal as well, I would say. Any takeaways from yourself, Paul?
No, talking about processes, quite a few years ago, our task was develop the team leaders that we had. So I used to break each individual department and each individual job down. And as I was teaching and they was learning off me, I asked them how best they could receive that information. So we used to go through the different processes and we used to sign it off as they was competent. But then I would revise that and we'd go back. And they said it was the first time ever that they'd had something formal. But I was there helping as I needed, and I was showing them, I was teaching them the different processes, what we do, and the different stages of them processes. And I wanted to get it to a point where if I was missing out the department for 2, 3, 4 hours because the department worked seamlessly, and it did, but it took time and effort, and it took them one-to-one sessions, but they appreciated that, and that's what we developed over the years with each individual team leader, and it worked well.
Yeah, and I think the other side of it is to grow any business or any organisation or to do something great, you need a team. And you always go back to always talk about the Man Club, for example, right? How many facilitators have we got now across the country? There's a slide the other night, I can't forget.
400,
500. Yeah, a lot. Number of guys, he's got about 2,000 men help, a week ago in out there. 103 clubs, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's 104 now.
104, it probably will be. It'll probably be more by the time this episode goes out. So we'll probably say 106, 107, and it might be close. But the point I'm really stressing on there, though, is what we've also got to remember is, as leaders, sometimes there's a key difference between leaders and managers. It doesn't mean that one person can be a leader, one person can be a manager. I believe that we can flip into them different roles when we're being formal and informal. Does that make sense? And what I mean by that is I'm very visionary in the way I lead a leader, in terms of I have a vision, I see it before it's even there. So let's take the Man Club. I always saw the Man Club having been as big as it is, and I always saw it being exactly what it is now. It's no different to what I thought, right? What I mean by that is my vision was if the Man Club needed me, we've got a huge problem because the Man Club can't rely on one's bigger than the organisation, right? And I went rugby training on Monday, and I started playing Masters rugby again, right? Get myself back out fit, grow some circles, connect with my old friends. I thought it's good for our own mental health, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
But I've been running a Man Club for how many years now? Is it nearly 5
years?
Nearly 6 years in total, isn't it, right? We're into our just about to come to our 6 year, right? But it's the first time I've been able to do things like that on a Monday night because nobody needs me at all. But how great is it that I'm there when I am needed?
Yeah.
I went and used the club myself the other week, because we're always going through a storm. But it doesn't need me. I like to think it's better with me. I don't think it is.
Right? It's always better with you, but I can understand.
It's not better with me, right? But the point I'm making, though, is
you're a valuable member when you're in there.
But the point is that if we're not prepared to put the work in to be formal and informal, we're never going to be able to create something what's amazing like that.
Yeah.
And also, we're always going to be doing the tasks that we're not necessarily good at. And also, we're also going to be doing the tasks that are actually the vital life-saving work. So we look at the Man Club, his whole task is to open the doors on a Monday night to actually help people and talk about their emotions and not take their life, right? Important. It allows you, when you've got something so focused like that and a vision so focused like that, to make decisions and be really ruthless so that we can put that vital life-saving work in place. But my question, my challenge has always been to you two guys is, what is it you want? So like, when we look at our highest and best use, right, we should always be doing our highest and best use and be delegating and task that, and not our highest and best use to somebody who is the highest and best use. That makes sense here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any thoughts I'm giving you, folks, where I'm heading is, if we break that down formal, we go back to a solid way. For me, it all comes back down to time management.
Yep.
And it comes back down to what can we create and design around time management, because we're not getting any more time. What would you say back on that?
Yeah, for me, time's a killer. It's something I need to work on. I need a bit of time management training. That's what I need to. But I need time to do the training.
We was laughing about this actually, weren't we?
Yeah.
With Scott, because me and Scott have always done loads of time management training, been on all different courses, and just talk through that story what I said to you the other day.
Yeah, Scott came into the office this morning, not this morning, last week, but it was a bit later on. Come in and I was like, "You all right? A bit stressed there." He went, "So much to do, but no time." I was like, "Oh, where you been this morning?" He went, "I was on a time management course." I was like, "Okay," he went, but I needed to do it to sort my time out. Yeah.
But I think on that though, there's a key bit, and Scott's always good at this, is he knows that he had a problem in there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he carved that time out to go get it,
time,
and he'll got that back over the week.
Time, yeah.
And it's about looking at different systems around that. I'm big on having a system.
Yeah.
What would you say around time management?
I've had to develop time management, and I'm quite good at time management actually. But I used to say before I didn't have enough time, but I did. But I was procrastinating and doing other things that wasn't the biggest and best part of me, what I should have been doing. I was doing other things that wasn't growing my business. Procrastination.
Yeah.
And I was busy every day, but I wasn't growing the business like it should have been. And Leon, as he does, challenged me. Scott challenged me. And I've gone full circle now. And I think the results are speaking for themselves. So I really do. I work on me 3 big rocks a week. And then my other bits and pieces, I fit them in when I can. But I make sure I've got 3 calendars now, so I don't miss anything. And I'm just one. I do have my digital calendars, but I do like to have my book where I can open it and see where I am in the week. But I am a sight better, because we say we ain't got time. And then you look at your screen and you spend 5 hours on scrolling through social media and stuff. So if you only spend 1 hour scrolling through social media, you got 4 hours for the gym, haven't you?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And I think it all comes down to prioritising. And I think I wrote an article this year. I've been doing some coaching for the local university and I on the master's degree, right? And they asked me a great question. They said, "You're in charge of this business, you do this, and you're involved in all sorts." And they said, "How on earth do you manage your time?" Now, there is what's the word? I can be quite sporadic, it would appear. Is that fair or not fair? I don't know. What is it like? What do you perceive my time management to be like?
What's it like to be on the other side of Leon?
Yeah, come on.
I think it's miles better than it was, 100% better than it was. No, I think you're really good. Sometimes you will say, "I'll help you with that, I'll help you with that," because you're always the same. You always want to help. And I'm reluctant because I know how busy you are. So sometimes I don't ask as much as what you offer, because I know how busy you are. But I think you're miles better than you was. Sometimes I'd roll up at 5 o'clock for a meeting and we'd have it at 6. But you're totally different now. Totally different. You was on point today.
But I think the challenge is with that, and something I have been working on is, the man club. A lot of stuff we was working on was a man club.
Oh, a lot of stuff.
Man club's never paid a penny and brought anything into my life. This side of it, I was trying to help you develop a business.
Yeah.
Back to the point of that. So there's always a challenge when you are helping people between giving them the time and actually making sure you've got a roof over your own head. And I've struggled with that for years. Something I've been embracing since going on the Giant platform, and especially since I've joined ThinkCloud, is to embrace my no. Starting to say no, really working on my highest and best use.
Yeah.
And I think the key challenge is, there's only 5 things we can do with a task. We can either do it, we can delegate it, we can defer it, or we might not know what the next step is, so we've got to decipher it. Or the last one is we can delete it, right? That's all we can do with tasks. And for me, what I've done, and you'll be learning this in that course you're going to be doing, is time block, just time block.
Yeah.
But when I say time block, what have you noticed this year with me going back into the office? What do I do a lot more of now when now we've moved into these offices?
You dedicate your time in here. So if there's an important task, you block it out. You come in and lock yourself away, don't you? Another thing which helps is me and you like to do account management meetings and structured time with the clients. We always try to squeeze in each other's calendars when we can do it. But bit of time management, which we've done, which helps each other, is we've structured certain days and times, haven't we, just for that particular time.
It's the highest, isn't it? Like, nothing else can go in them times. And I think it's about being really ruthless in our calendars. About, we're doing this podcast. I've got to fly off after here because I've got to take the lad to rugby. I hadn't planned out great today because we would have thought it were getting that busy that our recording equipment's getting gobbled up by the other members of the staff, right? But the point I'm making is there's always going to be something that comes up. Something's got to give.
Yeah, and I think you've always said to me, and why I struggle, and I think I'm probably you 2 years ago, where now I have to be conscious of my no.
Yeah.
Not take everything on.
And I think your biggest challenge, and definitely Dean's, seeing Dean all the time, is to really struggle to embrace it.
Yeah.
And it's so painful because I try and coach both of you. Just got to do it. And why do you think it is that then? Why do you think? Because you said to me about I'll always help you. But when I always help you, I control my own calendar.
Yes.
I always do it. And I'll say the same to you. I'm very rigid on my calendar and my times.
Yeah.
You can have help, but it has to be at certain times and certain hours a day.
Totally get that.
That doesn't mean it works for everybody, does it?
No, and I'm very conscious now of what I say yes to and what I'm accepting, because I'm very conscious of my time, because like we've said numerous occasions on this podcast, we're not getting any more of it. And I'm good at getting better at work-life balance as well. I took 2 days out of the business last week to take the wife away for 2 days, but then I work Saturday morning. I work Saturday to catch up, but I blocked them times out. I knew I wanted to do that, so I caught up on the Saturday, which wasn't a hardship.
And then this is the thing, because I think there's a real big myth about a lot of people preaching work-life balance, because, and I might be radical when I say this, or I challenge me, I've always been told that the hours I work or the things I do are not normal at times, right? But the flip side of that, though, right, is I'll come in at work at 9 o'clock, 9:30 sometimes, right, on certain days. But what a lot of people don't realise is I've been doing loads of other stuff in the background at certain different times. Like this week, I had no time to pick up and training that we've all been doing. And none of us have had any time to it. I know we've got some meetings next week where the piece of training we've done is really going to help us. So I had to carve out some time last night to go do it because I just haven't been getting it done. But I know that I'll take that time back Friday afternoon and I'll get it back. So I think there's also a bit of a myth around productivity around, you'll see, maybe say doing 3 things a day or anything, but have your big 3 rocks. But for me, I really work when I'm energised at certain times. So I've had it before where Zoe goes mad at me. Sometimes I cannot sleep. No matter what I do, I'll just lay there. But then I'll get up and I'll go read or I'll go work on something that is of my highest and best use, right? Because I don't see the point in being laid there or being busy. But then I will go take that time back, going and play my rugby, going and doing different stuff. So I think it links back to that. What would you say, Dean?
Yeah, I think in certain circumstances, I think that does work. And I think you are that exception. I think it definitely works for you. I'm quite the opposite. I like to do my working day. I still ain't got a problem with dipping in after hours when I need to do stuff. But like you, I will take that time back if I need to. I think that is the work-life balance, what works for me. Some people, their work-life balance is 8:30 till 5:30, and then that's it, they turn the phone off. And that works for them. For me, I'm the same. I do things after hours and I enjoy doing it, but I know that if I need that time back throughout the working day, I can take that time. And that suits me, but never to, if I'm in bed, I've got 2 young kids, I'm in bed for 9:30, so I'm gone after that. But we're an exception.
But no, we're all different that way, and I think that's part of our values and what we're doing, because I'll work around the kids and all the bits around the kids.
Yeah.
And then I don't really, I'll watch a bit of telly, but sometimes I enjoy learning. So if I enjoy learning, I'll sit and learn rather than watching.
Yeah, read a book and learn.
Yeah, I will enjoy that. But there is a fine balance, I would say, between that. What would you say on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And over the last 2.5 years, I've struggled with work-life balance, and even down to my marriage, we really went through a rocky time doing stuff, but I believed what I was doing was the right thing to do. And for once in my life, I've been proved correct. So much so.
We'd have both been dead if it wasn't correct. It didn't happen, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So next week I'm delivering in London. So I'm taking the wife with me. She's going to go shopping while I'm delivering. Then we're spending 2 days there. I'm going to take her to a show and going to see some stuff. Because I've believed what I was doing, I can chip away, and I'm still very busy during this month. I haven't got many days spare this month, which is a great problem to have. But I've fitted in some family time as well and taking the
and it's about being like that. And it's the same with Dean. You do all different stuff, don't you? And you went and watched Sports Day, wasn't it, right? But he can do that because he puts time in whenever he wants to. It's not even a question. He can do that, right? He can go take time when he wants around himself and his family. But there's a key point, and you're doing that now, and I'm able to do it now. But what a lot of people don't see is we have to be really formal with ourselves about getting things done, aren't we?
Yeah.
And also, it's back to that great point that remember James Ash taught us, his favourite quotes. You're living the way people want, so that in the future you can live the way people want to live.
Yes.
What I mean by that is look at Dean. From you going on leadership training how many years ago when we was at virtual networking. And I remember you sat there looking at me going, what on earth is he on about?
Yeah, 5, 6 years.
No, it's longer.
7. Actually, it was Milton. So it was well before where we are now.
And it was before Man Club. So it must be 8, 9 years ago. Long time.
Long while ago,
work. But back to that point about having that vision.
Yeah.
You grinded it out when you didn't you? And a lot of it didn't help you at that
time, no.
But I remember when we was doing that performing, we had a challenge in the business, didn't we? And when you went, I remember doing this.
Yeah.
And you remembered learning about it, and you remembered how to solve a problem, didn't you?
Yeah.
But it took
years.
But you had that work under your skin to do it.
Yeah.
Got it?
And now we spot it, we talk about it, it's a process. But at the time when you're not prepared for it, you just think, what am I doing?
So any sort of last takeaways as we wrap this little mini podcast up?
No, I absolutely love this one. I love talking about how we teach formally and informally, and how we've developed ourselves in the last few years, and how we develop others. And I'm going into companies and organisations now. And
you had your first member of staff working for you as well last week, didn't you?
Yeah, first member of staff working for me last week, and absolutely smashed it.
But it needs process.
We was working weekends to make it happen and practice what was going to deliver in the colleges, and says practice makes perfect, and it went absolutely smashed it. We got more work on the back of it.
So the point I'm making there though is we've got to walk that tightrope of formal. So what are you saying your challenges then? Do you need to do more informal, more formal? What is it?
I think I've got to be more formal. Like I've always been strong at informal. I've always been that. It's over the past 3 years that I've gone a lot more formal. I think I've done that especially a lot with the fan club. You used to drive it, didn't you? You used to have that vision. And then I was like, just give me the vision. Let me run with it, because sometimes Liam ran a bit too fast for me. But we got there in the end, and it's strong in Hull, isn't it?
It was on that tight. We were running across it.
It was on that tightrope. I fell off a couple of times, mate.
I caught you.
But he caught me, yeah.
And what would you say? What you're going to work on?
Me, informal, like Paul, I'm strong at that. Formal structured training is where I need to put time in, and the hard balance is finding that time, which takes us on the subject anyway, which is time management, which we could
we'll revisit. We will revisit
into.
And I think what we'll do another session actually on that management course, because I think you're learning that at the minute. I wrote an article on it, and I think it's something we need to revisit and do a session.
Because it can only enhance us, can't it?
Of course it can. So I love this podcast, boys. That's me checking out.
Paul checking out.
It's Dean checking out.
Welcome to The Hack, the straight-talking smart tech podcast where we discuss the ever-changing world we live in today. It's time to start thinking differently. So tune in and buckle up for some home truths as Hull and East Yorkshire's very own digital tech experts talk transformation and change, focusing on people, process and technology.